Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am very happy to have you here, guys. For today's video I decided to do a buying guide for the house of AHMED Al Maghribi. I decided to do this buying guide because I got to try over 40 of their fragrances, more than 40 fragrances, 43, 44, 45, something like this. And it's a house that I think deserves a lot more recognition on, let's just say, the international fragrance market. So yes, today I decided to do a buying guide. By the way, before I start, please like the video because it was a lot of work that went for this video. So yes, I want to let you know what this brand is all about. I want to give you some fragrance recommendations, and basically how I thought to do this buying guide is that every person who's watching this video, no matter if they are familiar with my videos or if they're new to my videos, if you're new, by the way, welcome. Don't forget to subscribe. But I want everyone who's watching my videos to get a feel of how this house is by the end of the video, to know at least what fragrances have sparked their interest or could spark their interest, what fragrances perhaps they shouldn't blind buy, what fragrances are fragrances that they have to try. So yes, I will talk first about what kind of products you can find there, then I will go on different fragrance categories. But I decided to split this video into two, basically into the Western type of fragrance category, basically more like your French-like fragrances, and then into your Middle Eastern heavy, robust fragrances. So yes, without further ado, let's just begin. Now, if you have never heard of this house, from what I read, it has been on the market for about 20 years. But it's just been like a few years since I personally discovered this house. But they're based in the United Arab Emirates. That's where they create their fragrances. I don't know much about the founder. I don't know who he is. But basically, I feel like what sets this house apart, at least from the other, let's just say, more popular Middle Eastern fragrance houses, is the fact that I don't know what they put in their fragrances, but their fragrances are so oily and so concentrated. To give you an idea, I feel like they have the same level of oiliness as some Montal and Mancera fragrances, and you know that in the fragrance world, those fragrances are like the oiliest, the heaviest, the strongest. I feel like the same goes when it comes to AHMED Al Maghribi fragrances in the Middle Eastern fragrance world, you know. So yes, like I said, there you can find fragrances, EDPs, but you can also find air refresheners, hair mists, Bahor, if you are familiar with Bahor. You can find fragrance oils and lots of other things, but today's video will be focused on their EDP, on their eau de parfum fragrances. I will not talk about the other products, but if you are interested, let's just say, in any of the fragrances that I will mention today, first of all, don't forget that for the majority of the fragrances that I have mentioned today, I have in-depth reviews, or I have videos where I just talk about them but in more detail, you know. And also something that I feel like it's very important to point out, if, like I've mentioned, any of the fragrances that I will talk about in today's video catches your interest, please try to look for sets. They have beautiful sets for amazing prices. I feel like all of their fragrances are priced more than fair for what they offer, for how strong they are, for how concentrated they are, for the beautiful presentation that the majority have. Even their more luxurious premium line of fragrances, I still find them more than affordable, you guys. And I'm telling you, they have fragrances that are your typical grab and go, something for everyone, but they also have such unique and bold fragrances. I feel like if I were to, let's just say, when it comes to their heavier fragrances, if I were to tell you what notes they really, like notes and accords they really know how to play with, is the oud. They have some amazing oud based fragrances. They really know how to play with the oud accord. They have lots of oud based fragrances, and also leather or suede. So if you're a fan of those, then I feel like you will enjoy a lot of the fragrances that I will get to talk about when I will go to the Middle Eastern fragrance part. But yes, without further ado, don't forget to look for sets, first of all, because they are very well thought, you know. In a set, for instance, you have a fragrance and a body gel, for instance, or you can have like an air refreshener with a fragrance oil, with the fragrance, then with Bahor, I think. I will try to insert here some pictures with the kind of sets that they offer and also with their prices. Now, granted, I feel like their prices will be in dirham, but feel free to do the conversion if you want to. But their prices are more than fair, like I've mentioned, even when it comes to their more luxurious fragrances. Now, with all this in mind, please don't think that I love all of their fragrances. I definitely have my favorites, I have my fails, but I feel like this is normal and healthy when it comes to all the fragrance houses out there, you know. You have fragrances you resonate more, you just resonate a little bit with some of them, or with some you don't resonate at all. But please keep this aspect in mind, that what I might not like in a fragrance is what you might love. So always do your own research at the end of the day. So without further ado, let's just begin, you guys, and let's begin with the Western category of their fragrances, because like I have mentioned, they have plenty of fragrances marketed. I mean, I feel like they're marketed for everyone, but they are more like your Western leaning fragrances, meaning that they don't have any heavy notes. Some of them I feel like they are unique creations, whereas others, or while others are inspirations of popular designer or niche fragrances. But you guys, something about them, even when it comes to their inspirations, they don't just like clone the DNA of, let's just say, I don't know, Out of My Mind, Good Girl from Carolina Herrera. They add their own twist there. And I feel like this is what makes them stand apart, because they don't just take the DNA and they try to replicate it like a one-on-one, you know. They create something starting from that DNA, and I think this is brilliant. For instance, I will just say this and then I will start with the fragrances. I am not the biggest fan of Good Girl on myself. I have a very good friend of mine, it's her signature scent. Look, I don't know what's with that woman, but on her it smells so different, so different. It fits her like a glove. I asked her so many times what fragrance was she wearing, and it was Good Girl, and I was like, oh my god, but is it one of the flankers? What kind of Good Girl is it? And she was like, no, it's the original. But I was so surprised, because I know how it smells on lots of other people, but on her it just smells something different, you know. I don't know why, but basically they took the DNA and they made it so much more beautiful. But I will get to Good Girl in a second. So yes, you guys, the first fragrance that I want to highlight, starting with the inspirations, is one called ANAB from AHMED AL MAGHRIBI. Now this one, I bought it, basically I bought a sample. This is so beautiful. This is like the epitome of fun, of girly, of giggles, of laughter, of something that's very like positive, uplifting, you know, and happy. Yeah. This is the fragrance. I bought a sample of it. Back then I didn't know that it was supposed to be an inspiration, but someone purchased this fragrance based on my recommendations, and that person came back and she told me that this fragrance is supposed to be, I mean, not that it's supposed to be, it's very similar to Fantasy from Britney Spears. I personally haven't smelled Fantasy. Can you believe that? I haven't smelled Fantasy, but this fragrance is your, let me just spray them. Yeah, this, like I've said, I don't know how Fantasy smells like, but this one smells like a beautiful, delicious kiwi ice cream in a sense, with melted white chocolate, because it's very dense, very sweet, definitely gourmand leaning, very oily, by the way, very oily. And I will mention this once, and then I will not mention for the other fragrances, because I don't want to be like a broken record. But if you purchase their fragrances, please be mindful. Now, I don't have this issue because I wear mainly black clothes, but if you wear lots of white, lots of pastels, something from like more soft fabrics, please keep in mind it's so oily that it will stain your clothes. So be mindful of that when you spray your fragrances. But it is so oily. I feel like this has like 40%, 44% or 40% basically the fragrance oil concentration in this fragrance is 40% or 44% or something like this. So it's very high, considering that for a usual EDP fragrance it's somewhere around 20, 23 if I remember correctly, or 25. I feel like that's the range, or 18. I don't know exactly, but I will insert here if anything. So yeah, this is a beautiful fruity gourmand fragrance. Like I told you, you have the white chocolate, like a melted cold white chocolate, so it's very dense, very gourmand, with something that smells like cold kiwi ice cream. So you have the contrast a little bit between the nuances. The kiwi here, or kiwi, again, it's your like artificial kind of kiwi or kiwi. I don't know how you say it in English. Kiwi, I will just call it kiwi ice cream. So you get a little bit of greenness, a little bit of this like crispness about it, you know, but you get lots of sweetness. Beautiful fragrance, very girly, very fun, very playful, very uplifting. I told you, to me this is like the epitome of giggles, of like a very girly girl, you know. Beautiful fragrance, works amazing on its own, works amazing layered. Please be mindful that this one is a tad more like a little bit more artificial, in a sense, like it has a slight sharpness about it. It doesn't smell like a realistic kiwi, like a freshly cut kiwi with freshly melted white chocolate. It does have a slight artificial hint about it, or like a slight artificial tinge about it, but it's nothing too much. It's not bothering. Doesn't give me any headache. So yeah, that was the first one. Where should I put this one? Hold on. You know what? I will just put it here. Let's move on to the second one. Let's move on to ARAAK, but first let me get it. Now, ARAAK, you guys, is a fragrance that I've fallen in love with. Again, someone sent me a decant of the fragrance. By the way, thank you so much if you're watching. I tried this fragrance, and even though it's not my kind of fragrance, but it has something so special about it, and I immediately bought it. I don't know, I just wanted to have it in my collection. Again, this is so beautiful, you guys, so beautiful. Look, this fragrance seems like a more simplistic, straightforward kind of fragrance, but believe me, it's not. It has so many nuances that start to shine as the fragrance starts to develop on your skin. So if you want to hear like more of an in-depth review, please watch this video over here. There I talk a lot more about this one. This one is, I feel like this one is their take on the DNA of Good Girl, but imagine like Good Girl but upgraded without the sharpness, without that like slight synthetic undertone, you know. This is so beautiful, so beautiful. So it opens up with a beautiful tuberose. The tuberose here is slightly creamy, milky, lactonic in a sense, but imagine a tuberose accord that smells sweet, slightly creamy, slightly milky, lactonic, with a touch of greenness, but that natural greenness that some tuberose accords can have, but not the greenness that you have in fragrances like Organza from Givenchy or other like old school tuberose fragrances. This is very modern, nothing old school about it. So you have that with something that smells like, I don't know, like sweet citruses on top, a little bit of vanilla. So it's slightly fruity, slightly milky, creamy, lactonic with sweetness, but it follows the DNA of Good Girl. But I'm telling you, not just that it follows it, but it upgrades it, if you were to ask me. This is definitely one of my favorite fragrances from the brand. So if you are a fan of Good Girl, I would highly encourage you to try this fragrance. Again, it's so oily that it stains your clothes. Be careful of that. But good thing is, this fragrance lasts. This fragrance lasts, it performs, it projects, it leaves the sillage. Performance is not an issue for the majority of the fragrances that I have tried myself from the brand. Of course, some are stronger than others, but this is strong in terms of scent profile, but it's also very strong in terms of performance, you know. Such a beautiful fragrance. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Yeah, so don't forget to watch that video if you want to hear more about how it develops, because I cannot really spend like 10 minutes talking about all the fragrances because we have a lot of fragrances to go through. So let's move on to the next one, and let's move on to LEEN. Now LEEN, I have a sample of this one. Again, I spoke about this one in an older video of mine, but if you type like LEEN AHMED AL MAGHRIBI I fragrance glance on YouTube, the video should just pop up, you know. So this fragrance, I didn't know what this one was an inspiration of until I went to my cousin and she had that fragrance in her collection. So this is an inspiration of Lacoste for women, Lacoste Parfum, something like this, from Lacoste, of course. This fragrance, I don't think I can properly describe it, but it smells strong, yet muted, yet round, yet full, yet enveloping, yet slightly sweet, slightly musky, slightly powdery. Yeah, slightly creamy at the same time. It smells, you have here the touch of Lily of the Valley, but it's such a delicate touch, just like Lily of the Valley smells like in real life, you know. It's not one of those overpowering, heady, decadent florals, you know. It's a more soft one, it's a more muted one, but here they played it in a way that the smell of Lily of the Valley has lots of fullness and richness to it, but that fullness and richness, it's almost like this creamy sandalwood, vanillic, musky accord. I promise you, that's the best I can describe it. I don't know. It smells abstract in a way, you know. It doesn't smell slightly powdery, it has a richness to it. So I don't know, maybe it's like a slight ambery accord, but it's not your typical ambery smell per se. But at the same time, I don't know, it has something about it. It's, again, really beautiful fragrance. They are so oily that basically, like, when I tilt the fragrance here and then I tilt it back down, like, you can see the oil dripping, like slowly dripping from the fragrance, you know. It's not one of those really alcoholic fragrances where it just like moves everywhere. Like, it's more, what I'm trying to say is that the consistency is more thick, you know what I mean? It's more, I don't know the word in English, like, yeah. let's just forget that because I don't know the word in English. Beautiful fragrance. Look, this one to me, if you wanted to buy a fragrance from them, that's a safe blind buy, that performs, that's strong. But what do I mean by strong? It lasts very well. It stays on your clothes, it stays on your skin, in your hair, wherever you apply it. But it's not the kind of fragrance that projects like crazy, but not because how it's done, but because of the note they used here, you know. The scent itself is not the kind of fragrance that fills up rooms. But if you are one who prefers very feminine fragrances that are slightly elegant, slightly feminine, with a little bit of sweetness, but like very easy to enjoy, you could dress it up, you could dress it down, you could turn it into a casual fragrance, you could turn this one into a nighttime going out kind of fragrance. This is the fragrance to buy. And also, if you love fragrances from Lacoste, I feel like this gives me like Hugo Boss, Lacoste, this kind of, like if you resonate with brands, with those kind of brands, that you will really enjoy this fragrance. But again, they took that DNA, but they made it fuller and thicker, if you know what I mean, and overall more round. I don't know, it has this feeling of fullness, this fragrance. Yeah, beautiful, very interesting. But let's move on to the next fragrance. Now, this next fragrance is called Love Story, and Love Story is supposed to be their take on the DNA of Meliora by Parfum de Marly, I think. Yeah. Meliora? Was it Meliora? I haven't tried that fragrance, so I cannot really compare it with the OG, but this one on its own, this is a fruity fragrance, but again, a very beautiful fruity fragrance. This, you guys, if you have ever drank Lipton iced tea in the flavor of forest berries, then you know how this fragrance smells like. It's so realistic that it makes me crave iced tea, I don't know why. So realistic. It legit smells like you just applied like a glass of, like you just pour yourself a glass of forest berries iced tea. Slightly cold, slightly dewy, slightly aquatic in a sense, with a deep fruity accord, reminiscent of the smell of forest berries, like all of them combined, you know, like blackberries, raspberries, all types of berries combined, something that's a bit more abstract, but in that scent family, that's that. Yeah, this is how it smells like. You legit even have the same like tangy feel, I feel like it's called tangy sensation, you know, when you drink that. But here you can smell it, you know, it's not like you drink it, but you smell it. So this is in the opening, closer to the heart, but as this one reaches the dry down, I feel like you lose the iced tea, like the tea, like aquatic dewy quality of the fragrance, even though, how to explain? This fragrance, even though it does have some dewy aquatic facets, but it's a very overall full and robust fragrance. It's not one of those like thin, soft, flat fragrances. It has richness to it, you know. And as it gets closer to the dry down, I feel like you still have the fruity accord, but it's a bit more subdued. And now you start to get that specific base that they have in lots of their fragrances. I feel like if you are familiar with the brand, or let's just say if you have tried some fragrances from the brand, you know that they have this very interesting combo between sandalwood, vanilla and musk. So it's something that's slightly creamy, slightly musky with a slight mutic vanillic sweetness. You have it here as well. You have it in LEEN as well. Yeah. But here you have it more in the dry down, and here I feel like it's paired, like I've said, with those deep fruity nuances. Gorgeous fragrance if you are a fan of deep fruity fragrances. Beautiful one to have. Again, very oily fragrance. I feel like this is not as oily as the two previous ones, but still very oily and very affordable, guys. Please keep in mind these fragrances are very affordable to begin with. So don't, like, I don't know, honestly, I don't have any complaints about this brand, you know. Maybe just a little bit that some of their fragrances have a slight sharpness, but that's to me, you know, maybe you will not detect that. So moving on to the next one, this is called Little Hearts from AHMED Al Maghribi, and for this fragrance I actually have the scented body gel as well. And oh my god, you guys, let me just tell you how scented that product is. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the consistency of it, it's a bit weird because I'm not used to that type of consistency in scented body products, if I'm being very honest with you. It's not like a lotion or like a moisturizer or like, yeah, like a moisturizer. It's more like a gel, but a gel that's very silicone. It almost feels like a makeup primer with lots of silicone in it, you know. It has that texture that, yeah, it's very interesting. It has that silicone texture. But once you apply it on your skin, It leaves your skin very smooth. It almost leaves your skin a little bit blurred. I don't know how to describe it. But the thing is, it's highly scented, so a little bit goes a very long way. So yes, like I have mentioned, for this fragrance, you can actually find it in a set with the body gel. This I know for sure, for very affordable prices, under 30 euros. I feel like I saw it online for under 30 euros here in Europe, but please keep in mind, if you are in the Middle East, I think you can find them for even more affordable prices, you know. Now, this fragrance is in the same scent family. I just put it on my nail. This fragrance is in the same scent family as Kirke and Erba Pura, but I feel like this is more similar to Kirke than to Erba Pura. This is so beautiful, so beautiful. After Jasmine Wisp, this is my favorite fragrance in that same scent family. It smells like this beautiful, rich, dense, tropical fruity accord, so it's like slightly yellow fruity, with something that smells like sweet citruses on top, like orange, mandarin orange, a little bit of lemon there, that type of smell, with something like red fruits. So you also get this slight, crisp, red fruity nuance that's very noticeable, but again, subdued, muted. Nothing is off balance here. All these nuances are blended so well here. All this on a vanillic ambery base with a beautiful dose of musk that gives some airiness throughout the fragrance in a sense. But this is definitely sweet with all the other fruity nuances that I was telling you. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. If you're a fan of ANAB White from Latafa, Jasmine Wisp from Rasas, if you're a fan of Al Haramain Amber Oud Gold, I actually prefer this one to Al Haramain Amber Oud Gold because it's more vanillic and it's more dense. That one from Al Haramain, it's more musky, and as it develops, it gets more breezy in a sense, you know, it feels like a cloud of sand, whereas this feels much more thick and robust, you know. Yeah, if you love that scent DNA, get this fragrance. It comes in 50 ml, beautiful, beautiful, feminine, girly bottle. Get it with the body gel, and I'm telling you, you will smell amazing. You will smell amazing. Of course, by now it's not the most unique DNA. I feel like you have lots of fragrances in this scent family, but I feel like they really outdid themselves with this one because again, you guys, it just stands out amongst the others. I don't know. Please keep in mind, for my taste and for what I prefer, and I prefer fragrances that are a bit more heavier. I can say that I'm the biggest fan of those like your skin but better kind of fragrances, or really like soft, breezy, bright fragrances. Even when it comes to fruity fragrances or like fruity florals or anything like this, I still prefer them to have like an oomph to them, you know. Yeah, beautiful fragrance, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fragrance. I told you, after Jasmine Wisp, how they did this DNA is my favorite one. Then let's move on to a fragrance called Rose Noir. This is their take on the DNA of Olympea, but again, much more unique, I feel like. And this, I don't feel like this is for everyone. This definitely don't blind buy it. The other ones, all the other ones that I have mentioned, if you enjoy like your designer fragrances, honestly, to me, this is like a step above them, because I'm telling you, they take that DNA and they make it overall fuller, denser, richer. So yeah, but this I don't think it's for everyone. This has, again, I speak a lot about this fragrance in this video over here, but this fragrance, let me spray it. This fragrance smells sweet, it smells salty, it smells slightly spicy, like a ginger-like spiciness. It has this cold ozonic undertone with something that smells like this deep blue marine accord. So it's slightly, not even aquatic, more like marine, you know, more like a deeper aquatic nuance with something cold, ozonic, basically like something very cold and airy with a salty vanilla. So you have the slight salty undertone, but you also have the sweetness from the vanilla. But then you have the ozonic nuances that give it this very like a refreshing element almost, and then you have that deep marine freshness. Then you have a pinch of powdered ginger sprinkled on top. So this has a lot of things going on. Again, I don't know if it's my kind of fragrance, this one. I'm not really the biggest fan of the DNA of Olympea. Shocking, perhaps. I don't know. I like to smell it on other people, but I don't feel like it suits, let's just say, my taste, you know. But if you're a fan of that fragrance, and let's just say you want something that's a bit more unique, again, strong, projects, performs, amazing price, I would encourage you to test it. But please keep in mind, it's very different. It's very different in the sense that it's more, you have all these contrasting nuances put together in a sense. So I feel like not only you have that DNA, but then you have all these other nuances that give it this more abstract undertone almost, you know, because I'm telling you, you get this vanilla, you get a slight salty nuance, a little bit of spice, but then you get this cold, airy, like ozonic nuance. You know, if you have tried AHMED from Latafa, it does have slight similarities with that fragrance, but it moves into a different direction, I'd say. But if you know that cold, airy feel, now I know a lot of people that they perceive that nuance as metallic. Here is not metallic, you will get nothing metallic, but that cold air feel with this interesting, like, deep marine freshness. Yeah. Watch that video if you want to hear how it develops and everything. But again, if you are, oh no, yeah, and I just dropped all of them almost. Watch this video if you want to hear more about how it develops and everything. But it's a beautiful fragrance if you want something that still has a designer DNA, but with something edgy about it, because this is definitely not your grab and go type of fragrance unless you have the taste for it, I feel like. So yes, let me put all these ones aside and then prepare the next round of fragrances, and then I will be back. So let's continue with the next one. This one is called EROS, and this fragrance, I feel like in the video where I talk about ARAAK and Rose Noir, I also talk about EROS, so feel free to watch this video if you are interested in it, or in any of the other fragrances mentioned. But this one, this is your elegant fragrance. This smells womanly. This smells elegant, classy, like a woman that's elegant without trying to be elegant. She's just very, like, well-mannered and soft, and she speaks very well, and she dresses very timeless and elegant. I feel like this is the fragrance for that woman. As I have mentioned in that video as well, if you resonate with the way Bulgari they do, so the way they do their fragrances, this is something that you should check out. Like, now, notes-wise, it's this interesting, like, citrusy, floral, irisy, musky fragrance. Yeah, I don't know. But again, the notes here are very well blended, so it results into something that's overall just elegant, just very, very womanly, very beautiful, nothing too obscure, nothing too abstract, nothing too sweet, nothing too citrusy, just something that's timeless, classy, elegant, little bit serious, but not too serious. But yeah, that's the fragrance. This one, I don't know actually if it's supposed to be an inspiration of anything, or if it's their unique creation, but it's a beautiful fragrance. Again, I don't feel like this is my kind of fragrance, you know. I love fragrances with that oomph to them, with that something edgy, or either something edgy, either something sweet, either, I don't know. I don't think, even though this sounds very bad, but I don't think I'm one who prefers those classy, elegant fragrances. But you know, my style is my style. Now let's move to the next one. This one is called Supreme. This, guys, if I were to put it into a designer brand catalog of fragrances, this would be in Narciso Rodriguez. This has something very Narciso Rodriguez-esque about it, you know, like the way they do their roses and musks. You have something very similar done here. Oh my god, how oily is this one? Yeah, so this smells crisp and oily and clean, but a crisp kind of clean, with a crisp rose in the background, with a crisp oily musk in the background. It's cold, it's crisp, it's strong, like very strong and very oily. Now I'm telling you, it has something very Narciso Rodriguez-esque about it, you know, like if you love the way they do their fragrances, you have to try Supreme. It smells elegant, it smells, again, classy, timeless, womanly. I feel like this is a little bit more serious than Eros. I feel like Eros is done in a Bulgari style, you guys. It's very, like, mellow and just, like, womanly, motherly even. Yeah, very, like, the way they did the iris here is done in a very similar way that Bulgari does their iris fragrances. I don't know, like, my mother has fragrances from Bulgari, and every time I smell this fragrance, I associate this fragrance with her. So yeah, this is done in a, like, you're not trying too much, you know, like you're not trying to be elegant, to be, you just are, you know, like it almost like it comes from within, you know. This one is a bit more of a statement fragrance because it's very crisp, like crisp, cold, and smells oily. The musk here, it's your crisp, heavy white musk, doesn't have anything animalic about it, but it's strong, like you will smell it, you know. And again, the rose is crisp, everything about it is crisp, and almost like the rose has a slight lemony undertone to it. Beautiful, beautiful. But again, if you love fragrances like those from, sorry, when I do two things, like, yeah, I cannot focus on too many things at once, especially when I'm speaking. But if you enjoy fragrances in the same style as some fragrances from Narciso Rodriguez or even from Chloe, but I feel like more Narciso Rodriguez, and overall those really crisp fragrances, like crisp, strong, rosy, musky fragrances. Also, if you enjoy Rose's musk from Montal, it has something from that, but this one I feel like it's a bit more serious. I don't know, maybe it's because of this cold aura that it has. Maybe this is why I find it a bit more serious, but I find it a bit more serious, but beautiful. Again, beautiful if you have the taste. This is the kind of fragrance that you can wear to your office, in your day-to-day life. But I would picture this fragrance on a woman who, like, she has almost like this cold wall, you know, like she puts this like cold wall between her and people. But once you get to know her, she's actually very kind, very warm-hearted. But like at the first glance, like at the first look, she seems like very serious, you know. Next one, let's move on to MUZN. Now MUZN, you guys, it's a very interesting and creative fragrance. Again, I feel like slowly we will get to the ones that are not dupes, even though I have another one that's a dupe. Forget what I said. MUZN, it smells like a drink, but like a very interesting mocktail, or like a cocktail without alcohol. This, you know what, I will not spray this one because I know the smell of it very well. This legit smells like you were to make a cocktail with ice, because it's very cold and crisp as well, with pineapple juice, like a freshly made pineapple juice, something little bit citrusy-esque there, and lots of salt, like lots and lots and lots of salt, because it has this saltiness to it. It has this salty aura that envelops all the other notes. You will get the salty undertone more in the opening up till the heart, because I feel like from the heart till the dry down, that salty nuance will tone down more and more, and you will get the fruitiness with that slight cold chilling feel, you know. But this is such a creative and abstract fragrance. I mean, not even abstract, because I can really tell you how it smells like. It literally smells like a cocktail with pineapple, with lots of salt, and with ice, and with a little bit of citrus poured on top, you know. But it's very artistic. I feel like it's very creative. I don't know who is the kind of person who would wear something like this, but I can tell you that that kind of man or woman who wants or who wears something like this, they do things in their own way, you know. Like, there is an expression, like, I don't know if you have this expression in English as well, but basically they don't go with the herd, you know. Like, if everyone goes in that direction, they go in the opposite direction, you know. Like, they are the ones who think for themselves, who don't follow trends, who don't follow, you know. They are more like your artists of the world, in a sense, I don't know, or like your rebels of the world, I don't know, something, yeah. Interesting what this fragrance makes me think of. Again, I don't know if I would wear this fragrance. It's not really the kind of fragrance that I feel like screams me, but if you are looking for something that's very unique and creative, artistic even, and definitely something that you don't smell everywhere, sample this one. Sample this one. By the way, sample all of them if you have the possibility, but sample it because it's very interesting. So yes, let's move on to the next one, and let's move on to a fragrance. This one is so beautiful, you guys. This one, I could definitely wear it. This one is called Bonbon, and this smells so angelic, with something that's a little bit delicious, but very innocent and very, very feminine at the same time, but it exudes this innocence about it. It's very interesting. This smells like, I really like this fragrance. This smells like the most delicate and beautiful and muted peony smell, mixed with soft melted white chocolate. It smells white, it smells feathery, it smells fuzzy in a sense, it smells It smells clean, but not your musky kind of clean. I don't know. So beautiful, so beautiful. I'm telling you, it smells angelic. Like, if someone would ask me what I think it's a fragrance that exudes this innocent, angelic aura about it, is this one. Is Bonbon from AHMED AL MAGHRIBI. Yeah, beautiful fragrance, beautiful, simplistic, but done very well. Now, this is one of the fragrances that will not project like crazy because of the notes, you guys. It stays more closer to you, stays more close to the skin, but it still forms this beautiful scent bubble around you. It does have something slightly sweet, but imagine sweet in a muted way, something a little bit vanillic there with this melted white chocolate nuance, but again, a little bit cold. I don't feel like it's very warm, at least not here on paper. And with the most beautiful, yet delicate, yet feminine smell of peonies. But the peonies don't overpower the white chocolate. I feel like you get more of the white chocolate with peonies in the background. I don't know, it's almost like if there would be something like this, even though I don't think there ever is, like a white chocolate made, and you like, imagine like you make a white chocolate and you put like peony petals inside the white chocolate, you know, and then you smell it, and that's how this one would smell like. Let's move on to MARIN. Now, MARIN, you guys, this is a fruity bomb, or like a fruity, this is like a watermelon lemonade with like watermelon, like the red one with melon, or like the yellow one. You make a lemonade with these two. You put there some citruses in a sense, and again, very sweet, and something sugary almost. It opens up very aquatic, dewy, sugary, and with lots of watermelon. But sometimes I smell it and I get watermelon, other times I smell it and I get melon. So, and with some like citrus, and with some citruses in the background, like a little bit of lemon, a little bit of orange. Yeah, this smells gourmand, but it smells gourmand in the sense that it smells like a drink, I think, but I'm not sure. I think this is supposed to be their take on the DNA of L'Impératrice 3, but don't quote me on this, I'm not sure. Beautiful fragrance, very strong, very fruity, very sweet. It almost smells slightly sugary as well. That's how sweet and concentrated this one smells like. This is summer in a bottle. This is tropical, fun, I don't know, like, yeah. It smells like summer in a bottle, but you have to love fruity fragrances to fully appreciate that fragrance, because that one is all about fruity nuances. Like I told you, watermelon, lots of it, melon, lots of it, sugar in the mix, some citruses there, like a little bit of lemon, a little bit of orange. So it's very multifaceted. Like the fruity nuances here are very multifaceted, but they blend together and they create this beautiful and delicious summer mocktail. I love watermelon, like I love to eat it. It's one of my favorite fruits. So yeah, I love the smell of it. I love the smell of it, but this is the opposite of a serious fragrance. This is the opposite of like an elegant fragrance. This is fun, this is playful, this is outgoing, this is, yeah, this is summer in a bottle, like I said. Now, let's continue with another fragrance. This one I haven't talked about it yet on my channel. I am just testing it, but I decided to mention it in today's video because it's a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. And this is done for a completely different taste and with a completely different vibe than all the other fragrances that I have mentioned so far. This is called ZURAIQUE. Don't quote me on that. If I butchered the name, I'm sorry. Oh, but this one, look. Should I tell you now everything I wanted to say about? No, you know what? I will do a separate review because I genuinely think like it deserves a separate review. But I will just let you know this. If you are familiar with fragrances from the 90s, like late 90s, early 2000s, and if you are familiar with those peachy, like orangey, mandarin orange, clementine, that kind of DNA in fragrances, or fragrances made around these kind of notes, then you will love this fragrance. Like if you love fragrances like Poème by Lancôme, if you love fragrances like Cinema from Yves Saint Laurent, this follows the exact same scent DNA, but I feel like they made it overall a bit more modern, and they added their own touch to it. Basically, this is all about like mandarin orange, clementines, this kind of smell. with almonds, but it's almost like you don't get the nutty quality of the almond, you get like almond blossom or something like this, like a more delicate floral touch of almond. But it's so beautiful. Also, if you love Junoon Rose from Al Haramain, I would highly encourage you to try this fragrance. Like if you don't find that fragrance like dated or vintagey or anything like this, then I think you should really try this fragrance. Again, ZURAIQUE. I will insert the name here on the screen anyways. Yeah, so beautiful. It smells warm, vanillic, slightly ambery, with lots of different flowery facets. Yeah, I detect here the smell of peonies with the smell of jasmine, like a little bit of tuberose perhaps, but you have this like abstract white floral accord with peonies, because you also get this like very muted, very delicate pink flowery smell, like rosy but a bit more delicate than pink roses. Yeah, with almond blossom, because you get the smell of almond, but it's not like a nutty kind of almond or like bitter like almond essence, you know, it's not very flavored. It's more like this like whiff of something almondy in the mix. Beautiful fragrance. So I had to take a short break because I was smelling lots of fragrances and my nose got tired, and I have lots of fragrances to go through. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 fragrances from the Western category of fragrances, and then we will move to the heavy Middle Eastern leaning fragrances. So yes, let's continue with a fragrance that this was created for the men out there. This is called HIRFAH. And this is a beautiful fragrance. I love the DNA. I don't think it's for everyone. I mean, look, this could be considered more Middle Eastern leaning because it also has this, I mean, look, they listed the oud accord. So beautiful. Now, this is another one of their ultra oily fragrances. So if any man buy this, be careful. This smells like a cold, crisp, refreshing lime. Lime with bergamot. It has this slight mentally cooling sensation with lots of different green facets, like deep green facets, something from the patchouli, so slightly green and aromatic. Also something like oak moss in a sense, so a slightly deep green, dry, slightly earthy, with an agar wood or like oud-like accord in the background. To me, the oud here, it's more of a supporting note. It's not really the first thing that you will smell. They definitely have lots of other fragrances that I would recommend you when it comes to oud. This, look guys, this to me smells very masculine. This smells like a manly man. Doesn't smell very young. Keep this aspect in mind. I think you need to have the age or you need to have the nose, I feel like. But it's so beautiful, so masculine, smells so manly, so powerful, so strong, such a statement fragrance, but very, very different to the kind of fragrances that are popular now, I feel like, on the market. So again, is this one a safe blind buy? I do not know, especially if you're a man watching me. My knowledge when it comes to men's fragrances, let's just say, is not the best, you know, but I do enjoy how this one smells like. And if you are looking for something made around lime, around bergamot, with lots of different green facets and with a beautiful oud accord in the background, it's worth checking out. But it's not a safe blind buy, keep this aspect in mind. But then again, what fragrance is truly a safe blind buy at the end of the day, you know? I feel like it's all a matter of taste. Next one I want to share my thoughts on, not share my thoughts on, because I've already reviewed this one in a video that I did in the past. This one is called BANI, and this fragrance, this is so beautiful. I feel like this is again one of their more premium offerings. This comes in a 40 ml bottle. This smells, guys, like, this smells so beautiful. Smells like a warm sunkissed jasmine bush that's highly scented with toasted coconut flakes in the background. It's so beautiful. And again, it feels very robust and dense and thick and layered in a sense. You know, you have the coconut, you have the jasmine, but again, very realistic takes on these notes. I feel like beautiful, beautiful, you guys, very beautiful. This is, I feel like if you love Jasmine of Athens from Theodoros Kalottinis, if you love What else? 9 AM Furry Mint from Afnan. If you love Utopia Vanilla Coco from Kayali. But keep in mind, this is not as sweet as those fragrances. Those fragrances are very sweet. All that I have mentioned so far, they clearly have a very pronounced sweetness to them. This one, I feel like it's more flavored in a sense. I mean, not flavored, but it's more realistic and royal. It smells very realistic if you were to ask me. Yeah. It smells so realistic, and I feel like this realistic aspect is what makes this fragrance stand out, and is what makes this fragrance worth it. If you're a fan of jasmine, if you're a fan of this slight, it's almost like, sorry, I have it here in my mouth. It's almost like this slight toasted coconut flakes sensation in the background, or coconut chips, something like this, you know. It's not your aquatic coconutty thing. It's not like the ultra sweet, you know, like designer type of coconut. Very realistic, very feminine, very effortless. It's very, to me, this is again a timeless fragrance. It's the kind of fragrance that smells good now, it will smell good in 10 years. This is for those women or men, if you have a taste for this kind of fragrances, like you wear whatever makes you happy. This is for those people who want something for the summertime or for warm weather in general. They like something that's very feminine but not too sweet, you know, but still made around coconut and jasmine. This is the fragrance. I have a feeling lots of people, or like women, men, will enjoy it if they get to try it. It's not the one that projects like crazy. I feel like it maximum like arm's length, you know. It's not the kind of fragrance that fills up rooms, but it's very, it has something about it. I don't know how to describe it, you guys. It has something special. It definitely has something special about it. Now let's move on to the next one. This one is called OUD Lavender. Again, I have an older video where I talk about this fragrance. Now this to me is, imagine the DNA of Erba Pura. You cut down from the sweetness, you cut down from the fruitiness, you make it a bit more unisex, and this is OUD Lavender, I feel like. I remember the first time I tried it, it reminded me of Erba Pura, but not of the tropical fruity accord of Erba Pura, but of the citrusy accord of Erba Pura. Yeah, this is very interesting mix between a citrusy accord, like an abstract citrusy accord, slightly refreshing, slightly citrusy, but nothing acidic, nothing of that sort. It's a very similar accord to the one used in Erba Pura with lavender. The lavender here smells like a slight shower gel, like a calming, luxurious, spa-like lavender shower gel or shower oil, something like this, you know. And I feel like as this one got to develop even more here since I tried it, I mean, not in this one particular, but I have more samples of this one, the lavender, it shines even more. And now not only you get that slight shower gel facet of the lavender, but you get this like a deep aromatic feel of the lavender. It smells very realistic of lavender. So you have these nuances with a slight dry woody accord in the background. Look, I know this is supposed to be an inspiration of a fragrance from Serjov. I don't exactly remember the name, nor I think have I tried that fragrance. But if you close your eyes and you imagine the DNA of Erba Pura, you completely cut out the tropical fruity accord. You take the same citrusy accord that they use there, you put it here, you add lavender essential oil, or this, like I told you, this luxurious spa-like type of shower gel, shower oil made around lavender, with a slight woody hint in the background. This is the fragrance. Look, to me, I know this is marketed as unisex. I can see why. I think women could easily love this fragrance, but truth is I prefer to smell this kind of fragrances on men, not necessarily on me. For myself, I do prefer a rose-based fragrance, vanilla, something more sweet, something more spicy sweet, something like tobacco, spicy sweet, I don't know, some fruity florals, but I don't like lavender and this kind of fragrances. I prefer to smell them on men than on me. But try it. I got amazing feedback on this fragrance. Keep in mind from men, mainly from men, I feel like. But again, I feel like this is one of their best sellers. Yeah, I can see why. I can definitely see why. Very easy to enjoy fragrance. The kind of fragrance that's perfect for, like, if you live in countries where it's very like hot and humid and very warm, lots of months in a year. This is the kind of fragrance that could be very versatile for you, because you could wear it during the daytime, during the nighttime. It does have something summery about it, but it also has a little bit of depth. It's not your typical summery forward fragrance, I feel like, you know. It's not your citrusy refreshing one. And also I feel like because the DNA is pretty simplistic in a sense, like if you were to deconstruct it into these three scents, let's say, or like these 3 notes and accords, this is pretty much how it smells like, you know. So I feel like it would leave a lot of room to play with. This would pair very well with some citrusy fragrances if you're a man, especially with anything refreshing, cold, citric like, you know, like a bergamot, grapefruit, lemon, lime, these more like masculine, let's just say, leaning citruses, you know. And again, this, like I've mentioned, would work really great as a base, even layered with some of your more popular designer fragrances, like, I don't know, like Dior Sauvage, like Acqua di Gio. By the way, you guys, Acqua di Gio is one of my favorite, like all-time favorite fragrances on men. I don't know, call me boring, I don't know, but that fragrance to me, like when they created that fragrance, they created a masterpiece. That fragrance stood the test of time. It smells good now, it smelled good back then, and I feel like it will smell good in 40 years from now. That's one of my all-time favorite masculine fragrances. But this one would work very well layered with those fragrances. And again, it's something for warm weather that doesn't follow the exact recipe for all your summery fragrances. Make it for women or for men. Now let's continue with the fragrance. I haven't tried this fragrance too much, but I don't think it has any reviews on YouTube. At least I haven't looked, but I want to share my thoughts about this one as well. This is called Love Story 86. And this is a flanker to the Love Story fragrance, and I feel like this was released in 2022, I feel like. Now this fragrance, let's see, honestly, when I first tried it, I was not the biggest fan of it. Yeah, this is a floral fragrance, like crisp, cold, clean floral fragrance, like floral, think like, I don't know, like jasmine, lily of the valley, that kind of fragrance, with something citrusy, with a little bit of greenness as well, if I smell. Yeah, it's interesting. It's very full. Again, it's pretty round, but it's much more cold. And to me, it has nothing to do with Love Story, the one that I spoke about previous. Yeah, they're like 2 different fragrances, so don't buy this one thinking that you will purchase a flanker to the other one. To me, this is a whole standalone fragrance, but between these 2, in all honesty, I prefer the other one. This one, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. Honestly, it's interesting. It's not the first fragrance that I would recommend you to get from the brand. It's not a bad fragrance per se, but I can say that I resonate with this fragrance. It's honestly, it has something that makes me think of like a cleaning product and an like this scent. I would imagine it in cleaning products and air refresheners, you know, not that it smells like a cleaning product or that it smells like an air refreshener, but this is the kind of scent that I would picture in those kind of products for cleaning purposes or like for refreshing the house kind of purposes. Not, yeah, but I will have to test it more and I will include it in a future video. Okay, so we are done with the fragrances. Let me prepare the other ones and let's move on to the heavier fragrances. Let's move on to the leather, to the oud, to the rose-based fragrances. I cannot wait to talk about them. So let me start with, I feel like it's their most popular fragrance or their most bought fragrance, something like this. This one is called Rose and Oud. No, I think it's Oud and Roses. I don't know why I have written here Rose and Oud. It's Oud and Roses. Yeah, this fragrance, I can see why. I mean, if it's their like one of their best sellers, of course people love it. I can see why. But personally, it's not the first fragrance that I would encourage you to try from the brand. This is supposed to be a rose and oud fragrance. I have another one that I much more prefer than this one. That fragrance is called BIDUN ESAM. That fragrance is like top 10 fragrances for life in my case. That one does oud and rose category justice, and oh my god, how beautiful that one is. It's everything you want in a rose and oud fragrance, but I'm not talking about that fragrance at the moment. I will talk about that fragrance after. So let's start with OUD Roses. This fragrance, you guys, is, imagine the smell of a red rose with a little bit of greenness, like a red rose with a little bit of patchouli. Lots of lavender, lots and lots of lavender. Lavender, like the whole plant, lavender essential oil, because you do get this very pronounced aromatic facet to the fragrance. And I feel like the aromatic facet of the fragrance combined with that slight greenness that the rose accord has, it makes me think of a fragrance from like back in the day, from like a barbershop fragrance for men, you know, with rose. But you know that style of fragrances, I suppose. Yes, it's that kind of fragrance with a rich woody like accord in the background and with a slight incensey trace. I feel like the incensey here, let's just say, develops more and it shines more as this one gets to develop on paper or on your skin. It's not the kind of incense that you have in OUD Aswad. That one is a different take on incense. That one is a very realistic take on incense. Here, I feel like mainly what you get is the rose with the lavender and with this like lots of different accords that exude this darkness about them. This is a very dark fragrance. This is a very deep fragrance. It is strong, very strong. Personally, this fragrance gives me headaches, but I think it's the lavender here. I'm telling you, I'm not the biggest fan of lavender fragrances when it comes to me wearing them, but that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate them on other people. But yeah, this is how this one smells like. Again, this one I haven't done a review on it, or like I haven't mentioned it in any other videos. I will do a video where I will talk about lots of other fragrances from AHMED Al Maghribi that I haven't spoken yet about them on my channel, and I will include this one this fragrance there as well. But so far, I see why it's one of their best sellers. But look, if you love the smell of red rose, not very sweet, this doesn't have lots of sweetness, and you love the smell of, imagine, lavender essential oil. It's a rose in a mix that's very dark and deep and grounding with something very relaxing, like aromatic in a sense, you know, from the lavender. Yeah, it's beautiful fragrance. Not the first one that I would recommend you to get from the brand, but if you know you love lavender, you have to try it then, because it's a rose oud, you know. It's like a rose accord with some woody nuances in the background, done in a very different way because of the lavender. So I had to go and get it. Let's move on to the fragrance that is my all-time favorite fragrance from the house. This fragrance, again, I feel like I'm emotionally connected to it. I love how it smells. I love how it smells. I love how it smells. And if you are looking for something made around oud, this is the first fragrance I would recommend you to test from the brand. Now keep in mind, it's very strong, it's very heavy. It's definitely not the kind of fragrance that you want to blind buy unless you have experience with these types of fragrances. But if you don't, please don't blind buy it. Please don't blind buy it, because yeah, it can be very overpowering, let's just say. But when I'm thinking of something that does justice to rose and oud category of fragrances, I'm thinking of BIDUN ESAM. This is such a realistic take on the DNA, and so opulent and royal and statement like you have to have the courage to wear something like this, you know, like unless you truly love this kind of fragrances, then this is not for you. But if you love this kind of fragrances, please test it and please give it time, because I remember the first few times I tried this fragrance, I can't say that I've fallen in love with it. Like, I really enjoyed it, but I can't say that I was like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever. But the more I tested it, the more I became in love with this fragrance, and now I cannot picture my collection without it. So this smells, imagine the smell of like thousands of pink rose petals, very flavored, very like highly scented. You dip your nose into those petals and you get all this beautiful slight sweetness, but like rosy kind of sweetness, complexity of a scent. And those petals, imagine they sit on an oud accord. Now the oud accord here, it's an oud accord that's very realistic. I feel like I even mentioned in the review that I did, I don't know who did this fragrance, I don't know what they put in this fragrance, but to me it's amazing, you guys. Like, it's amazing, and it's one that's worth trying out. It's one of the most beautiful rosewood fragrances that I have tried, and I have tried fragrances like rosewood fragrances from niche brands, from designer brands, from cheap brands, from more expensive brands, all prices, all brands or styles, but this is one of the most beautiful ones that I have tried. So yes, I would highly encourage you to try it. Now the oud accord smells slightly barnyard. It is slightly barnyard, but barnyard enough so that the oud accord feels real, you know, because oud in general, oud like the real smell of oud, it can be overpowering, and I feel like it is overpowering for a lot of people, but that's the beauty of it, you know, that is not something that everyone enjoys, that is something that you need to have the taste for, you know. And I feel like where a lot of Western brands miss when they do something made around an oud accord, like an oud accord, is that they clean it around the edges so much, they make it so muted and so diluted and so soft that it ends up being, it's supposed to embody this feeling of richness, of powerful, of something that's very unapologetic. But when you clean it around the edges too much, and when you dilute it too much, you just end up with something that just smells like bleh, you know. But this one here, this is opulent. The oud here is opulent. It smells like, imagine this like really deep, not necessarily dark, but this like very rich woody accord with a slight barnyard twist. So this is how this one smells like, with lots of rose, with a slight ambery nuance in the background, but the amber doesn't smell ambery per se, you know. It just adds lots of richness to the fragrance. This fragrance feels very robust, I feel like, and you do get a tinge of saffron in the opening. To me, this fragrance smells very passionate, very opulent, very royal. I love it, but enough about it. Let's move on to the next fragrances, and let's move on to a fragrance that I have already filmed and edited and uploaded a review for, but I don't know if I have posted the review until I post this video. Hopefully I did, because I mean it's edited and everything. But this next fragrance is called Bin Sheikh. Now, Bin Sheikh, you guys, now you know what, I will not spray this one because it's very strong, but oh my god, wow, you guys, this fragrance takes this like an ode to oud in a sense, but even though it's not the most wearable oud fragrance per se, but if you're a lover of oud, and especially if you love these more like unisex fragrances, you have to try it. Now, the oud accord they used here is very different to the oud accord in BIDUN ESAM. The oud accord in BIDUN ESAM is more like your Cambodi style of oud, whereas the oud accord used here, it's more like your Hindi style of oud. Now, I don't know if they use real oud or not. I don't have such a good nose, you know, to tell this, but even if they didn't use real oud when they did this fragrance, the oud accord smells very real, you guys, like ultra realistic, you know. So basically, to put it short, this fragrance is a mix between, so hear me out, take the oud accord, that Hindi oud that you have in Mukhalat al-Shams from Ajmal, so it's slightly animalic, not necessarily barnyard like fecal like, more like animalic, sour, acidic, pungent, fermented, that kind of smell, with the sugariness from Arabian Stonka, but here it's a bit more subdued, a bit more in the background, and a bit more cold, but you still have a sugary undertone. So you have these two combined. Now take that deep, grounding, aromatic take on patchouli that you have in Initio Oud for Greatness, in Badial Oud from Latafa, in Agadir from Junaid Perfumes, in Supremacy in Oud from Afnan. So it's that deep, cold, grounding, slightly earthy, but a very aromatic take on patchouli. And take that specific saffrony oak mossy combo that you have in all the Baccarat Rouge inspired by fragrances, and of course in Baccarat Rouge. Try to combine all these two together and you have Bin Sheikh. But imagine they added again their own unique twist to the fragrance. This fragrance, look, this fragrance is an experience to test, and I feel like I wouldn't have enough time to actually go in depth as to how it smells and how it develops and what notes come forward, how it changes and everything. So please watch that review. But I will tell you this. This is one of the most beautiful fragrances that I have smelled from the brand. And if you love the kind of fragrances that I have described so far, you have to try this fragrance. Look for a sample. This is not a safe blind buy. For me personally, I find it a little bit more on the masculine side. I mean, it's a unisex, women could easily pull it off, of course, depending on what you like in general. For me, it's a bit more on the masculine side. I would love to smell this one on a man. But if I were to wear this one, I feel like I would need to layer it with something. But watch that video, because in that video I also give you some layering suggestions. But you guys, this is not a fragrance to skip from this house. Like, if you want to explore this house, if you want to get a feel of how they do their fragrances, you have to try this fragrance. You have to try, because I feel like it's a very emblematic fragrance for the style of oud that they used in some fragrances of them. And it's again bold, opulent, royal, sophisticated. It smells expensive, it smells luxurious, you know. It doesn't smell, it smells like a fragrance that's 5 times the price if you were to ask me, because it's very bold, it's very rich, it's very multifaceted, it's very well blended at the same time, and it's definitely an experience to smell it. It's not something that you just smell once and then you're, oh yeah, no, it's a fragrance that you need to properly test it. So yes. Next fragrance is called HIRFAH. I got lots of questions about this fragrance. Another beautiful fragrance, very bold, very unapologetic. But I feel like this is the case for all the fragrances that I will talk about from now on. This is again made around oud, but it's a very different take on oud here. Here I told you the oud is your typical Hindi style of oud. To my nose, please bear in mind, I am no like oud professional, you know, like I love the smell of oud. I can distinguish between different types of oud accords, but I'm not there yet to tell you if this one is real and if this is from that kind of tree or what kind of oud, you know, like I'm not there. But this fragrance, again, I want to mention this one with oud and roses and with few other fragrances, and I want to do a new video on AHMED Al Maghribi where I can actually take my time in describing the fragrances and everything. So this is bold, this is bold, this is... Wow. The oud here smells, how to describe? Imagine somewhat similar to the oud that you have in Bin Sheikh, but it's almost like a little bit more balsamic and deep and woody. You know, it's not as fermented, sour, pungent, acidic. It's more, slightly more balsamic, if that makes any sense. But you still have a slight barnyard nuance, and you still have a slight, almost like acidic, pungent feel of the oud, but you also have something that smells a little bit fecal-like, you know. But it's such a robust, full-bodied oud accord. You get so many different nuances and facets and undertones and textures in this fragrance. And you have the oud accord. You also have a old, dusty, funky, leathery vibe here, and something in the background. It's almost like in the base. Imagine something that's very like creamy, not very sweet, but like a little bit sweet, creamy and muted, but very dense and full. That's the base, and then you have all the other nuances on top to my nose. Slightly sweet, but it also, the leather here, from time to time, I feel like it almost feels like this, like smoked leather, like a leather like put on fire, I don't know. Beautiful fragrance. Beautiful fragrance. Again, another one to try if you love this kind of fragrances. Clearly not a safe blind buy, clearly not a safe blind buy. Enough about this one. I will do a video where I will talk more about this one, but now let's move on to the next fragrance, and this is called Kalema. And this fragrance, this is the definition of a summery take on an oud fragrance. This, you know what it smells like, you guys? Honestly, imagine like you're in the middle of summer, so it's very hot outside, and you are at the horse stables, and as you are there inside the horse stable, so you get the smell of all those like horse riding equipment from leather, you know, that smells slightly shitty by now, but the leather also smells like a dusty, funky old leather left in the sun for too long. So you have these nuances. And then imagine like you were to make like a lemonade with pineapple and with some citrusy facets, or like with some citruses there. This is how this fragrance smells like. So you get the tropical fruity feel of the pineapple, you get the citrusy part, that's the lemonade, and then you get all the other bold, loud and unapologetic and quite funky facets of the oud, of the leather, of everything combined. But I feel like because of the citrusiness of the fragrance and because of the fruity accord, this is to me a fragrance with oud that could be worn in summer. Now bear in mind, you need to be familiar with oud-based fragrances, and you need to have a taste for this kind of fragrances, you know, you need to have a feel for this kind of fragrances, because otherwise you will not enjoy it. But this one, oh my god, how beautiful it is. Very beautiful, but very realistic. And again, I feel like you need to have a taste for oud accords done very well, like no complaints about the oud accords, but slightly more barnyard leaning. Yeah, I would love to smell this one on a man as a reference. I don't feel like it's too barnyard. You don't smell like you just clean the stables or anything like this, you know, but again, this fragrance is for someone who has a taste for this kind of fragrances. I don't feel like this is the kind of fragrance that you would purchase like blind buy as a gift for one of your close friends. No, this is the kind of fragrance that you would purchase or like you would buy if you were to buy it as a gift for someone who loves truly Middle Eastern leading fragrances. So yeah, beautiful fragrance. So next fragrance is called Gardenia, and this, honestly, the name is pretty misleading because you're thinking you will get this like beautiful white floral, perhaps slightly creamy, something there. But this, guys, this is again a very different, unique and creative take, but this time on leather. This is for those who love leather in fragrances. Look, I'm not gonna describe this fragrance too in depth in this video because I want to include it in a future video where I will talk about HIRFAH, about OUD Roses, about lots of other fragrances that I haven't talked about yet. But this one, to sum it up, it's a very interesting take on leather, like leather with something slightly green, something slightly floral, but the leather is the star of the show. You almost get this slight herbal flower hint here with something almost slightly citrusy. I don't know the notes, but again, this is not like an in-depth review for the fragrances, you know, but this is a gorgeous take on leather for those who love leathery fragrances. Now the leather here, it has have a slight funky undertone. To me, it's not your new leather bag, new leather shoes type of leather, but it's neither your suede type of leather according fragrances. To me, the leather smells, I mean, actually, the more I smell it, it does have something from a new leather bag, new leather shoes, but with a lot of funk to it, you know, with white florals, with something green there, something slightly citrusy. Yeah, but I remember this fragrance when I tried it. Also very oily, this fragrance. I'm just like looking now at the paper, ultra oily. I remember when I was trying this fragrance, when did I try it? Like a few months ago, because someone asked me about this fragrance, so then I sprayed it to like refresh my memory of this fragrance. This has a beautiful development, and if I remember correctly, it starts to get slightly creamier, slightly denser, slightly thicker. But again, I will talk about this one in a future video. But if you are a fan of leather in fragrances, especially if you're looking for a more, look, I don't want to say feminine take on leather, because definitely the leather here is not your feminine leather, you know. It's strong, it's present, it's opulent, it's present, you know, so you need to have the taste for leather. But maybe you were looking for something with a leather forward fragrance accompanied by different floral facets. I would highly encourage you to check out this one. Now, speaking of leather fragrances, I want to quickly highlight another fragrance. This one is called Sam, I think, and this is a very different take on leather again, but this time, hold on, let me spray it somewhere far away. This smells, this legit smells like new leather bag, new leather shoes, that type of leather with salt, because it does have a slight salty undertone to it, and with something like crisp red fruity in the background. So you get the slight fruity hint, you get a slight salty hint, and then you get the new leather bag type of smell. Yeah, different, very different. It also has something like a freshly dyed kind of leather in a sense. Very different, definitely more on the masculine side, but I feel like a woman who has a taste for this kind of fragrances could definitely pull it off. For me personally, it's a bit more masculine, but it's a beautifully done, and again, a very different and creative take on leather, you guys. Like leather with slight salty facets and with slight crisp fruity nuances. Beautiful take on leather. Again, I will mention this one in a future video, because when it comes to the fragrances that I haven't yet reviewed on my channel, I just want to highlight them in today's video. I don't want to go in depth, because I will go in depth in future videos about them, you know. Next fragrance, holy this fragrance. Look, this fragrance, this is something else. This fragrance is called SHEIKHA HIND. This is something else, you guys. I will not spray this one because it's so strong that, and I still have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 other fragrances to go through. But this fragrance, oh my god, if you're a lover of oud, you have to try this fragrance. But again, you need to appreciate that more like Hindi style of oud, I feel like. That slightly pungent, animalic, sour, acidic, funky, fermented type of oud accord. This is a very different take on oud. To me, I never tried oud paired with this kind of note. This fragrance It's very strong. Can I just say something? The first time I ever tried this fragrance, granted I didn't need anything up until I feel like it was 30, something like this. I just drank my coffee on empty stomach, which I know it's bad. You guys, it made my stomach turn. Like it legit made me gag. This is how strong it is, and never have I ever, like in my life, have experienced something like this with a fragrance. But this fragrance is so strong, and I'm one who loves strong fragrances. But I'm telling you, this is not for the faint of heart, and I can tell you for sure, this fragrance was created for the Middle Eastern market. For sure, because unless you are used to this kind of fragrances, or unless you develop a taste for this kind of fragrances, you will not like this fragrance, you guys. You will not like this fragrance. But this, again, when it comes to oud fragrances and from the house of AHMED Al Maghribi, it's one that you should try. It legit smells like sheikh, or like the woman version of that, you know, like smells so royal. But the thing is, the oud here, even though it's more like your Hindi style of oud, it's paired with something slightly fruity in the background, like slightly tangy, slightly fruity, slightly green in a sense, and with something slightly vanillic. And I feel like since having this fragrance, the sweet vanillic-like nuance of the fragrance started to get even more richer as this one has macerated over the years, because I feel like I have this fragrance in my collection for around 2 years. Like 2 years, you guys, and it took me around 2 years to learn to appreciate this fragrance. To me, I feel like it's a bit out of my comfort zone in a sense. Look, BIDUN ESAM, I could easily wear that one, you know, without thinking too much. But this fragrance, but I'm telling you, this is a different style of oud, you know, like oud. And people, I feel like people who tried oud-based fragrances, they know that not all ouds smell alike, you know. You have certain ouds that, for instance, you have those like Montalmancera kind of ouds, you know, some smell medicinal. Then you have your fecal style of oud, then you have your Hindi style of oud, then you have your Cambodian style of oud, and then you have like mixed mashes, something like this, amongst all of these when it comes to oud accords, you know. So yeah, with the oud accord they used in BIDUN ESAM, more like your Cambodian style of oud, I love that type of oud. It's also, it's a bit more woody. Yes, you have a slight like fecal undertone, you know, like a slight barnyard funk, but it doesn't have that like, how to describe it, like funky, acidic, pungent, you know, sour, fermented style of oud that this one has. But this one also has an animalic barnyard undertone as well. But I'm telling you, if you are on the market, not on the market, no, if you are on the hunt for a beautifully done, very Middle Eastern leaning, unapologetic style of oud fragrance, perhaps you don't like rose, this has no rose in it, I would highly encourage you to try this one. Definitely one of the least safe blind buys. I feel like this one again comes in 40 ml, so it's more of the, it's one of the more premium fragrances from the house, but it's a beautiful fragrance. 10 out of 10, recommend it. But you need to have the thick stomach, you know, to tolerate it, because it's not something for everyone. And the thing is, it's not just the oud accord that I find challenging here, because the oud accord, I feel like, yes, it's out there, but if you're familiar with Hindi oud, or if you're familiar with really heavy oud based fragrances from AHMED Al Maghribi, from AJMAL, from a few other different brands, then you will tolerate the oud. Is the notes that accompany the oud here that are a bit more hard to digest for me, because perhaps I'm not used to them. You have, like I told you, have something like black currant, you know. And yeah, enough about this fragrance, I will mention it in a future video. Now this next fragrance, I have none left, but this was the first fragrance that I ever tried from this house, and I wanted to at least mention it, because I remember when I first smelled that fragrance, boy oh boy, what a mark it has left on me. Like, this is called, very simple, like patchouli. This is just called patchouli. Now I hope they still do this fragrance. I have a very old, I mean, I actually have like one spray left, but I will not spray it because yeah, it's very strong and I don't want to. So let me smell it. Wow, yeah, this is the most realistic, earthy, wet, damp soil basement type of patchouli forward fragrance that I have ever tried in my life. It has something slightly camphorous in the background about it. The most realistic one, legit the most realistic one. Also, it has something slightly essential oil-esque about it. This patchouli fragrance is not for the faint of heart. It's not for those who don't like patchouli. But if you're a patchouli lover and if you're looking for something with lots of complexity, with lots of different nuances and facets, and if you are looking for a patchouli forward fragrance that will make such an impression on you, try it. But keep in mind, to me, again, you need to have a developed nose to appreciate this fragrance, just like with the majority of the fragrances that I will mention here, because otherwise, if you are not familiar with oud, or if you don't have a developed nose, you will just say that these fragrances smell like a farm, to put it in an elegant way, you know, and that's it. But you need to have, yeah, you need to have the nose for this kind of fragrances and the taste. Look, this one, when I had something from the sample left, I used to layer it with black orchid, and I love the two. I used to do one spray and then I used to apply black orchid on top, and what it would do, it would just like add lots of depth and darkness to black orchid. Beautiful combo, beautiful combo. But this one on its own, to me, it's a very experimental fragrance, or like what am I trying to say? Like it's more of an experience type of fragrance, you know. It's not the kind of fragrance that you buy because you're looking for your next casual fragrance, day-to-day fragrance. Definitely not the case, you know. But if you're looking for something perhaps very out of your comfort zone, or who knows, perhaps this is your comfort zone. Everyone's taste is so unique, you know. Try it. Don't forget about it. Try it. But let's move on to another one that is much more wearable, but it's so beautiful. And again, this is with oud, beautifully done oud accord, but of a very different take on oud. I told you, they really know how to do their ouds and their leathers. This is called pearl oud, and I love how this fragrance smells like, you guys. This smells so beautiful. This smells so womanly, yet so statement and bold and decadent and beautiful. So basically, this fragrance smells like, this is made around an oud accord. The oud accord here, it does lean slightly barnyard. It's like your rich, woody barnyard leaning, like slightly fecal leaning oud accord, but imagine it's wrapped in creamy, buttery, like sweet, heady and heavy tuberose. The tuberose here is strong, very strong, definitely strong. It's not your old school take on tuberose per se. Again, nothing like organza from Givenchy, nothing like that, but it's sweet, but very full and very rich, heady and heavy. But it envelops that oud accord, and with something that smells like creamy banana, like, you know, and I'm guessing that's the ylang ylang, and with vanilla. Beautifully done fragrance. Again, you guys, I feel like I've said it, but I will say it again. If you are looking for something different and you love tuberose and you love a barnyard leaning oud accord, it's worth checking this one out. It's worth checking this one out. To me, I don't feel like it's the most modern take on tuberose, but I don't feel like it's an old school take on tuberose as well, you know. I don't feel like the tuberose is challenging here. Of course, if you have a taste for tuberose. If you don't have a taste for tuberose, I don't know. As a reference, I do think it's a bit more challenging the way they did the tuberose than the tuberose in L'Interdit by Givenchy. That one is more like your bubblegummy take on tuberose, whereas this one is more like your creamy, almost like buttery, thick, heavy tuberose, you know, with lots of sweetness. But again, a sweetness, imagine like mashed banana, something like this. I don't know. When I first got this like creamy banana-like sweetness, like yellow banana-like sweetness, I thought to myself, what's going on, you know, like, is my nose going crazy or something? Then I looked at the notes and I saw they listed ylang ylang, and then I typed on Google like, how does ylang ylang smell like in fragrances? And that's when I read that it's supposed to mimic something else, and or it can mimic the smell of bananas. And I was like, oh, so that's where, okay, yeah. I haven't personally tried another oud and tuberose forward fragrance so far. That's very warm and sweet. Now, this next one is called Ain, and this is another oud-based fragrance, beautifully done, but the oud accord here, again, it's slightly barnyard leaning. It does have a slight fecal undertone combined with that rich woody nuance. Nothing like your Hindi style of oud that you have in Bin Sheikh, like SHEIKHA HIND, not that kind of oud. This is paired with, to me, it's paired with something that smells like blackcurrant, because you get this like tangy feel about it, slightly tangy green, slightly deep fruity, with something slightly citrusy like a bergamot juice, and with something slightly like yellow fruity like pineapple. You know, this is how it smells like to me. But as it develops, you lose the blackcurrant, you lose the bergamot, you lose the pineapple, and to me, as it develops, it smells like, I wanted to say lily of the valleys, but it's not really lily of the valleys because I always mix them up. It smells of lilies, decadent, heady lilies with that natural slight green undertone that lilies have. You know, like if you have ever smelled lilies, you know they have a very overpowering scent profile. Again, it's a love or hate kind of scent profile. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of lilies. They give me headaches, you know, like with floral forward fragrances, I'm very picky because I get headaches easily from really green fragrances and from lots of different floral fragrances, especially fresh florals or like really heady florals. Yeah, those are the ones that gives me headaches, which is interesting because I don't get headaches from like leathers and ouds and roses, heavy rose fragrances, but I get headaches from this kind of fragrances. But you know, yeah, so this is how it smells like. Again, yeah, this is something else. This is something else, not the most wearable fragrance, but this is, again, like I've said, an experience type of fragrance, or this is the way to say it in English. I'm not sure, like when I say it, it doesn't really sound proper, but in my mind it makes sense, you know, like it's a fragrance that captures an experience, you know. So let's move on to the next fragrance from the same collection. By the way, Ayin and Kalema and Zeafati, this next fragrance, are all in the same collection with beautiful bottles. Now, something about the bottles, to me, like when you look at them, don't you feel like they lean more on the feminine side? To me, all of them are more masculine besides this one. This one, I could picture it on women. But again, on women who love heady florals and they want a statement floral fragrance and they are not afraid of a little bit of oud. Also, you have iris here because you do get this slight irisy leathery hint as it develops. But again, I will mention this fragrance in a future video where I will talk more about this one. This, I don't even have to spray it because it's everywhere. Like, holy, this fragrance is strong. Like, very strong, guys, very strong. So strong, like borderline not wearable type of strong, if you know what I mean. This smells like, I think hay is the word in English, like, you know, the smell of like dried grass in like this kind of shape, not shapes, but you know how this one smells like. This is how it smells like you have lots of this with something that smells like a shoe polishing cream and with leather and with something spicy. I can't really picture on what kind of person this fragrance would shine, but yeah, I guess if you enjoy this kind of fragrances, it has something, it smells like you're in nature somewhere, you know, but with this kind of scent. And it also has a slight funk, but I don't feel like it has an oud-like funk, but it does have a funk, clearly does have a funk. Very interesting. The smell of hay, it's so pronounced. It's almost like you have a little bit of hay there that it's like decaying, I feel like, you know, because it's overly strong. It's almost like unnaturally strong, the smell of hay that you have here. I hope hay is called in English, with a slight leathery nuance. It smells like somehow like a shoe polishing cream with spices, with the hay, with a slight leathery undertone. Again, tell me this is not a creative fragrance. Like, tell me this is not a creative fragrance. And you know what I appreciate about this brand? You guys, they're not afraid to come out with fragrances like this one, you know, like you want bold, you have bold. You want freshes, you have freshes. You want fruity, you have fruity. You want inspirations, you have inspirations. You want your heavy Hindi ouds, you have your heavy Hindi ouds. And also keep in mind, I haven't tried all of their fragrances and there are still a lot of fragrances from this brand that I haven't yet tried. But from what I have tried, you have everything you want in a brand. Now look, some are more like creative artistic, even for me too creative artistic, you know, like I wouldn't wear them, but I love to have them in my collection and I love to smell them and I love to have the pleasure to experience this kind of fragrance. For instance, this one the most wearable? For me, of course not, but who knows, maybe for you it is. I feel like if you enjoy these like abstract niche fragrances, lots of these fragrances from the second part, from the more Middle Eastern leaning fragrances, are fragrances that you should definitely get your nose on. Definitely get your nose on. Let's move on to the second to last fragrance, and this one is called Shy. And this, This is more wearable. Luckily, this is more wearable. This is so beautiful. This to me, you guys, this smells, you know Madawi from Arabian Oud? If you know a Madawi from Arabian Oud, imagine a more unisex and Middle Eastern leaning version of Madawi from Arabian Oud. So beautiful, you guys, so beautiful, so bold, so decadent, such a statement. This fragrance is a vibe, but it's very wearable. To me, this one I actually want to apply it on my skin because I missed smelling it. So this fragrance, this opens up with a rich, deep woody accord. They have listed oud, so I'm guessing this is the oud accord. And with patchouli, the patchouli is deep, it's grounding, it's strong, and it's slightly herbal as well. So you have these two nuances in the opening, and then closely behind them you have the smell of apple, like a green apple, you know, and the smell of like pineapple, but not the overly ripe pineapple, you know, not the kind of pineapple that you have in Kalema or in Aventus or all those kind of fragrances, like pineapple blossom, something like this, you know, because it's definitely less sweet, but it's sweet, still sweet. This is a beautiful fragrance, so beautiful. If you are a fan of Madawi from Arabian Oud and you are looking for a version that's very similar to it, but a bit more unapologetic, let's say, and a bit more deep, dark, and Middle Eastern leaning, I want to say, because of the oud accord, try this fragrance, but keep in mind it's a bit, I don't want to say masculine because I don't find it masculine per se, but it's not as like feminine leaning as Madawi is, you know. So here is the last fragrance. Oh my god, guys, if I would have had to smell one more fragrance, honestly I could have included a few more fragrances in the video, but usually those fragrances like Glory, like Rose Crush, like this one and this one and this one, Sapphire, another one I haven't yet talked about on my YouTube channel. And also, honestly, I don't feel like they are the most, personally for me, they are not the ones that I enjoy the most from the brand, you know. Now this one unfortunately leaked everywhere. Yeah, this one, oh my god, this is called OUD Classic. Now I remember the first time I went, like at my local mall, we have a Middle Eastern fragrance store there, and I went a few years ago there to smell some fragrances because they had Junaid fragrances, AHMED Al Maghribi fragrances, Fiola Tafas, Armaf, Ajmal, Atyab Al Marshoud actually. So yeah, I smelled this one, and I remember the sales rep telling me, as like she was like spraying the fragrance on the blotter, as she was like waiting for, like she was doing this with the blotter so the fragrance would get a chance to settle down. She was telling me how this fragrance has 4 types of oud. Yeah, I think this is like the brief they received, you know, when it comes to this fragrance. Like, guys, oud wear, this doesn't have oud, the name is misleading. I don't know why they said this has oud. This is a very interesting take. It smells, imagine you have this like really dry, deep woody accord with something slightly green from the patchouli and with this like warm, creamy, resinous, vanillic nuances. This smells more like a forest, you know, more like a forest with something that's slightly creamy, vanillic and resinous, like benzoin or something like this, slightly ambery, you know, but it doesn't have like 4 types of oud, you know. But I thought I will never forget this, you know. I mean, of course I didn't tell her anything because like it's not my place, you know, to like, if this is what they taught her to say, you know, this is what she says, you know, like who am I to say, oh, you know, actually it doesn't have any oud. No, it was not my place. But let me actually read you the notes that this one has listed. So in the top it has red fruits, mandarin, bergamot. In the heart, woody, cedarwood, patchouli. In the base, musky balsam, like, sorry, musk, benzoin, vanilla. They wrote the notes very interesting. Basically, they wrote the accords, then the notes. Yeah. This fragrance is, like I told you, smells like a forest. Like you get the woody hints from the forest, like the green hints from a forest, like a coniferous forest. Is that I don't think that's the word in English that describes that kind of forest, but it's a forest with like pine trees, you know, with like fir trees, you know, that type of forest, not the ones with the other types of trees, you know. So you get all these different hints, like foresty hints with a woody accord and with something, like I told you, creamy, vanillic, ambery, like benzoin, something like this. Fruity, honestly, I don't get much fruits. But again, I will mention this fragrance in a future video. So as you guys, these were the fragrances that I wanted to highlight in today's video for the buying guide. Of course, please keep in mind, these are just some of the fragrances that I have tried. I have other ones that I haven't mentioned in today's video, not because they are not good fragrances, but I feel like at least for now it's enough. Maybe as I will get to explore more fragrances from the brand, I could do a part 2, why not? But there are lots of fragrances that I didn't have the chance yet to test from the brand, you know what I mean? So I feel like for one video this is enough. There are more than plenty fragrances for everyone, doesn't matter what taste you have. I'm sure you can find something here, and I would highly encourage you to try fragrances from this house. They have amazing fragrances, you guys, and I'm telling you, no matter your taste, you can find something here. Like, I hope I haven't forgotten any fragrances. Let me know what are some of your favorite fragrances from AHMED Al Maghribi. Let me know if you enjoy this house. Let me know if you have any fragrances on your wish list from this house. There are lots of other fragrances, like I've mentioned, that I didn't get to try and I wanted to try. For instance, Oud Crush, I really wanted to try that one. Of course, Summer Oud, Bombay Oud looks really amazing. By the way, if you have tried Bombay Oud, let me know what you think about it. What are other fragrances? There's one like silky something. That one again looked amazing. So of course, didn't get to try all of them, but I feel like from the over 40 something fragrances that I have tried, it was more than enough to do a video. I hope you found the video useful. If you did, please don't forget to like it, leave me a comment, share it with a friend of yours. I don't know, share it with people who are passionate about fragrances and they would love to discover this house. So this is everything I wanted to say. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget you can follow me on Instagram. Here is my handle. As always, if you want to tell me anything, please put it in the comment section and I promise that I will get back to you. So yes, you guys, oh my god, I cannot believe I smelled so many fragrances and so many heavy fragrances in one video. Wow, that was, I feel like I have unlocked a whole new level when it comes to smelling fragrances. Yeah, that was an experience for sure. So I will see you in my next video. Don't forget to subscribe. Like I've said, please like the video because it took me a lot of time to prepare something like this, you know. I will see you in my next video, but until then, thank you so much for watching and I want to wish you an amazing day wherever you are. Bye.